Raptors are in the midst of one of their worst seasons in franchise history. The losses keep piling up, and so does the frustration for head coach Jay Triano. But he remains resilient, something Triano learned all about from a friend over 30 years ago. As a freshman at Simon University, he crossed paths with a Canadian icon, and the friendship they shared continues to influence him to this day. James Cebulski has that story.
I remember going out to the university for the first time. I went a week early. I remember being a little bit homesick and going into the coach's office. And sure enough, there's a guy sitting there. He had his leg amputated at that time. And there was so much for me going in to complain about being homesick. I quickly bit my tongue and sat there. And he ended up leaving the office, and I said to the coach, who was that? It turned out to be Terry Fox.
And with that one encounter, the course of Jay Triano's life was changed. A 19-year-old Terry Fox, just a few months removed from amputation, was slated to be the varsity basketball team's trainer for the upcoming season.
To see him on a continual basis and taping ankles and stuff, you get to know him a little bit better. He would tell us, he says, I have this dream and I'm going to run across Canada. And we all kind of just looked at him like, okay, that's your dream, that's cool. And never thinking that anything like that would ever happen.
But it wasn't long before Triano realized he had underestimated his newfound friend.
And I remember taking the bus up Burnaby Mountain and going up the hill. And here I am motivated because it's 8 o'clock in the morning and I'm going to go up and get shots up. And at the same time as I go by in the bus, I look out the window and here's my friend wheeling his wheelchair up the mountain. I remember getting up to the gym and shooting, and then all of a sudden here he would come wheeling in to the gymnasium, wanting to get some shots up, completely soaked, and I was just like, wow, this is crazy. And then I'd go down to the weight room, and then he'd be down there lifting weights. And all of a sudden, this dream that was way out there and that nobody believed in, and to hear him and see him and know how inspired he was, you just knew, okay, this thing is actually going to happen. Terry's actually going to do this.
I had a dream that came into my head. And I didn't take it serious at the time because I didn't even know if I'd ever walk again, but I dreamt one day I would try and run across Canada.
When the Marathon of Hope reached Toronto on July 11, 1980, Terry was met by crowds in the tens of thousands.
I've never been treated like this before.
And the very next day, the run took a little-known detour.
The day after, he came to Niagara Falls, in my hometown. We're standing right here on these steps, and I remember the casual talk about his run, and I remember him talking over and over about the prosthetic leg and the grinding and the chafing that was going on there and how painful that was. But he was just bound and determined that he was never going to stop the run. And my old coach, Dan Stewartson, swears that the reason he came here is because this is where I was from.
It was the only reason why Terry went to Niagara Falls was to see Jay. He told me that. It's not in any book. It's not anywhere to be seen, but that's why he went.
By the time Terry and Jay saw each other again, the Marathon of Hope had been cut short.
But now I've got cancer in my lungs, and we got to go home and try and do some more treatment. All I can say is that if there's any way I can get out there again and finish it, I will.
But Terry's health continued to deteriorate. Then came June 28, 1981.
I was in bed and the phone rang, and it was a radio station from Vancouver who had called and asked me for my comment about Terry because he had passed away. And I declined to comment at the time because that was the first that I had heard about it, and I was just obviously very sad and really had nothing to say.
Since Terry's passing back in 1981, Triano has been instrumental in helping keep the spirit and message of Terry Fox alive. He has been both a spokesperson and a participant in the annual Terry Fox Run. And back in 2001, right here on Burnaby Mountain at Simon Fraser University, Triano was the MC for the unveiling of this statue in Terry's honor.
And just remember the goosebumps, and then seeing the monument and the memories of him and his run and his parents being there, You know what? It was emotional, but it was an incredible honor.
Now, more than 30 years after they first met, Terry is still a prominent figure in Jay's life, especially this season as the young Raptors continue to fight through some difficult growing pains.
He's relevant because of the values that he taught me. Find the positive any time that things aren't going the way that you want them to go. And don't stop working. Don't stop fighting. It's helped me through not just this season, but it's helped me through everything in my life.
I'm not happy about not making it to Vancouver right now because I know I did the very best I can.
If you had a chance to speak to Terry one more time, what would you say?
I'd probably say, look what you did. I mean, because you think about how far we've come. The amount of money raised, research, people are going through a lot less pain.
If Terry was still around, he'd be so proud of the fact that Jay was able to do what he has been able to do. Jay was a person he looked up to, and Jay was Terry's hero.
Jay was Terry's hero. What do you think when you hear that?
How do you accept something like that from a guy who did what he did? I mean, it's. I remember after he had cancer, and he stopped his run. He came back to watch a game up at SFU, and he asked me for my autograph. I was just like, "Are you kidding me? I mean, you're one of Canada's greatest heroes of all time, and you want my autograph?"
I'm just one member of the Marathon of Hope. I'm no different from anybody else. I'm no better, I'm no lower, I'm equal with all of you.
And I think we're all inspired by different things in our lives. And I think that sometimes it's a movie, sometimes it's a book you read. But to be inspired by a guy who you see work every day and to know him as a friend, I just feel fortunate that, it didn't happen in a book or a movie. It happened with somebody that I actually knew.